In the past, when we've found ourselves unconscious and in a system, it's very easy to externalize all of the things that we deem our problems in our lives. And this, of course, creates a very disempowered position. Are you struggling with the journey out of the old system for work in your life? Many of us have felt that call within that there's got to be a better way. Do we have to be stuck within the rules and regulations of a system that feels confining and limiting? The 9-to-5 routine that feels tedious and monotonous, and often having the boss or the hierarchy that feels like a prison sentence. Now, there are, of course, many people who are happy, perfectly happy in that role within that system. But many of us, as we come to awaken to our heart's subtle messages and begin to align with a journey that feels better, that feels fulfilling, we begin to realize that perhaps we weren't in the best position when it comes to work. Now, that certainly happened for me, and that happens for many people every day as they awaken to realize that they need to make a change. Now, I want to talk about the emotional and mental transition that is involved here. Okay, you may have worked out a great business plan and you may have started to take those action steps. You may have quit your job. You may already be taking your leave and ready to begin a new, flexible, be your own boss, entrepreneurial position in your life. But that's often the beginning of a new set of trials in our life. And this is the hero's journey. Like any courageous act that we consciously choose in our life, we're going to be walking the hero's journey. Now, there's a reminder of the hero's journey here for you, but it's also important to remember that with any type of growth, transformation, and expansion, there's going to be periods where we feel uncomfortable. And so I want to remind you, if you are seeking that freedom from the 9-to-5 grind and you have begun to make strides and work towards being your own boss, or whatever it may be, you're going to come across some interesting challenges and some struggles. So I'm going to share some of my challenges and struggles. In particular, I want to share one of the biggest challenges, and that is recognizing that you were stuck in a repetitive cycle before, that we can lead very unconscious lives when we are stuck in a cycle, in a system. And it's kind of designed to keep us a little asleep. And this is one of the biggest reasons why, when we start to take the journey of becoming more self-aware, that we start to see things. We start to realize and see how easily we've been manipulated or controlled into doing something that isn't aligned with our heart's desires. And so we want to be able to identify these familiar obstacles in our lives and the tendencies to want to blame and externalize and give away our personal responsibility to the world around us. And in the past, when we've found ourselves unconscious and in a system, it's very easy to externalize all of the things that we deem our problems in our lives. And this, of course, creates a very disempowered position to be in. And we recognize, as we become more awakened, that personal happiness depends on taking full responsibility for your life and for every thought, word, and deed. And it becomes very obvious after practicing this for a while that indeed your taking full responsibility creates a different trajectory for your life. So this has to become a habit, an everyday habit. It has to be part of who you are as you move into becoming a free agent running your own show. You have to be able to be okay and be comfortable with taking full responsibility. And this is often a reason that a lot of people don't take that first step, or they try it for a while and they just feel way too uncomfortable and they're not ready to keep going with taking full responsibility. It feels more comfortable and familiar to blame and judge and criticize their external circumstances instead of changing with the courage to decide and make the choice and use their resolve to move forward. So that's often the first trial. The second trial is having the power to break free. It takes great courage. And again, the root word of courage, the Latin word is cur, or heart. We have to move out of the head. When we live in a system, we often live in survival mode. We just think that it's all about surviving and getting our basic needs met. It's often a reason people get stuck in freeze within a system. They don't leave their careers because they believe that they would lose their security in their lives. And we've been hardwired to believe this from a very young age. Straight into school, it's about tomorrow and how we're going to be productive to survive tomorrow and have the security for our old age when we retire. Now that's fast changing. It's not going to be the life cycle, the typical lifespan of someone today. So we have to have the courage to break free and to understand the ability to break free from the repetitive cycle by returning to true awareness. So moving out of the head. The head is just going to be running the same programs around and around and around. 95% of our thoughts are the same thoughts from the day before. They're simply what has been wired in over our lifetimes. So we have to move down into the heart. Now, this is its own journey, its own hero's journey. And this is what I work with clients to be able to do gradually, is open the heart. And this takes great courage because we have to go through. We have to break down to break through. We have to go down into all the feelings we've been avoiding our whole life. And we have to walk courageously through them. And so this is part of breaking free from a system. We have to begin to have the courage to face all of our fears, all the things that have been kept repressed and at bay, pushed down within us because it's too scary to look at. And if we have our external world secure within a safe rules system, then we don't have to face those things, those pain, that trauma, that wounding. But we have to face our wounding. If you want to be free externally in the outside world as well as inside, you have to face what you're afraid of and you have to feel it to release it. You feel to heal. So the next thing I think is really important is we have to embrace emotional flow. It's important to allow emotions to flow. That's how we feel to heal. We have to acknowledge the significance of not suppressing our emotions anymore, as they can affect perception and our overall well-being. There's two ways to express an emotion, consciously or unconsciously. Most people do it unconsciously. Most people push it down, repress until the breaking points, the stresses, the everyday challenges, a death in the family. You get the idea. And that's when we explode and now we've given up and we become very much a victim. This is not taking responsibility. So we need to consciously feel through our emotions. And yes, it might be like a tidal wave at first if this is something you've never done, but it is vital to you being able to have the power, to be empowered to see the truth in your life, to take full responsibility. So that's going to involve some uncomfortable things in your life. That's another big trial. That's another big experience that you have to consciously choose to have. You have to resolve to sit through it, to be courageous enough to feel every emotion that you've avoided your entire life. Now, I would highly recommend you do that if you're not familiar with that, with a facilitator, with a shadow worker, with someone who knows inner child work, who understands trauma, so that you aren't muddied by your filters of perception that are causing you to make limited choices and be small and afraid. The next thing that's important when you're moving into becoming free from the work grind is acknowledging that we move into states of numbness and demotivation. We have to assess our current state. We can't deal with what's in front of us if we don't look at it and accept it first. So recognizing feelings of numbness. Numbness is a very common default mode that we go into so that we don't feel the pain of our wounds and traumas. It's the reason that we go to addictions like food, alcohol, shopping. Numbness, we are unable to feel into ourselves, to hear our inner voice, to attune to our needs. So this also causes demotivation. And we project the past, the experience of our past, which has often been unconscious and disempowered. We project that into the future and we create states of depression and anxiety. And that's very demotivating. So it's important that you're aware, awake, conscious, and you are every day making steps to recognize when you go into numbness or freeze in your body. This is something you've got to gradually, baby steps, begin to work through. And how we do that is we start to listen. When we aren't numb, we listen to what our body is asking for us. It might be as simple as I'm thirsty, I'm hungry, I need a nap. Now, many adults today are not able to even listen to those little messages that are vital to our basic health. And we wonder why we go into disease and chronic ailments. So it's important to recognize these feelings of numbness and demotivation are barriers to personal growth and fulfillment. We need to deal with those through feeling. We feel to heal. And it's also important to understand how self-denial and distraction, addiction, social scrolling contribute to physical illness. All of it, any kind of activity where you give your power away to something outside of you because unconsciously you're avoiding being with yourself is going to cause dis-ease. So this brings me to total acceptance and responsibility again. Yes, this is a theme when you begin to branch out and become a free agent, when you really understand that the highest value in your life of peace and freedom has to come through the hero's journey. It's not just put on the plate for you. So you have to accept your current state, accept your inner pain. No one that is born into this earth plane at the moment is free from pain. Even the trauma of being born creates pain. And so we've got to acknowledge the necessity of accepting our current state and the pain that is associated with it. No more denying, distracting. Denying and distracting are the most damaging things we can do if we want to get out of the system and become our own sovereign free agent. We need to wake up and stop denying. And we got to transition from a mindset of victim consciousness. And I've talked about this many times, but victim consciousness is this idea that it's all happening to us, that we have nothing to do. We're not at fault at all. And this is not how the principles of our universe work. It's quite the opposite. We don't get what we want. We don't get what we want. We get what we are, what we're vibrating. So what are the thoughts that are creating the state within you? It's about our thoughts, our mind. What's programmed in there that's creating a steady vibration of what is it creating in your life? If you do a temperature check during your day, what is your average state? Well, that's what you can expect as your average experience in your life. So we need to transition out of this mindset of victimhood and take full responsibility for our life and our experiences. So life is an adventure. I think it's important to see this and take this perspective if you want to move into being an entrepreneur. You have a choice to perceive life as an adventure. It's up to you. You can continue seeing life as being a terrible suffering that you have to be a victim to. That's your choice, but you will absolutely bring into your experience whatever you believe. And so we want to choose to view life as a journey filled with opportunities for growth and exploration. Wouldn't that be better? You know, moving away from the mindset of victimhood towards embracing personal agency and empowerment. So we need to embrace the uncomfortable feelings that this will bring up. As I said, the hero's journey will bring many trials and they come with uncomfortable feelings. But what is an uncomfortable feeling? It's simply energy that gets stuck in our body. It's simply energy. So we need to be willing to feel these energies, stop labeling them as the worst thing in the world, and to feel fear, sadness, anger. Feel it all of this stuff that's been stuck in your body because of past experiences. We need to embrace these uncomfortable emotions and see them as part of the healing process. See them as part of personal growth. Become strong because you had the courage to face these things. And recognize and accept that discomfort that comes with stepping into unfamiliar territory. You know, when you go on the hero's journey, you take the call. You move out of your familiar world and move into the unknown. You've lived in a familiar world this whole time that you entered the system, that you have had your 9-to-5 job, that you've answered to your boss, that you've taken work home, that you've unconsciously and drudgingly got yourself out of bed every morning feeling flat and depressed and took yourself to work every day and drove that traffic and whatever it is. That was my experience. But recognizing and accepting that discomfort and realizing that what's more important, you know, do I want to grow and transform and become a stronger, more expansive human being through the discomfort of unfamiliar territory? Or do I want to just stay in the status quo, as uncomfortable as that is? That actually takes our life out of us. Which one gives you life and energy? Yes, you'll face things that are scary and new. And yes, they will feel uncomfortable and confusion. Confusion is the step before learning. You know, you're going to go through these experiences if you decide to be your own boss. And be okay with that. Be okay with that. We have to move away from false constructs. The recognition of false support systems. Has that support system you've been part of and your whole life really supported you as an adult? Do you really feel loved and seen and heard and cared for and nurtured? Is your health really in its optimum peak condition? Or are you sitting down all day in front of a computer? Not saying that's a bad thing, but is that really what you want? Ask your heart. Is that really what you want? I think it's helpful to check in with your values. One of the best ways to do this is to ask yourself, after a big deep breath, put your hands on your heart. What is the most important thing to me in this life or in my job, in the choice of career or how I spend my time being in purpose? What is the most important thing to me? And just allow the answer to come. And then ask, what about after that? What's the second most important thing to me? And what's the third most important thing to me? Create a list of values that are from your heart, not from your head, not from what society has told you will keep you secure and safe, because that just keeps you asleep and your life force is drained out of you. What is your heart wanting you to experience? We've got to realize the inadequacy of relying on false support and external validation for fulfillment. You know, do you really want the white picket fence and the marriage? Or, you know, do you really want to be the CEO of your organization? Is that really what you want? Genuinely. Maybe there's people who do want that. Of course there is, but not everyone wants the same thing. So what do you want? You are your own unique being on your own unique journey. And no two people are the same. So don't try to be like anyone else. Create your own goals and intentions for your life that come from your own unique space in your heart. Letting go of false notions of success and identity are tied to external achievements leads to nowhere. I certainly can attest to that. Many people can know this now. They've tried it the hard way and they've learned the hard way and they're still not happy. So you'll find that life goes quickly and, it seems so subtle that time's passing, but then suddenly we always find ourselves looking back going, whoa, where did that decade just go? So make the choice today. Be brave enough to embrace this. Embrace the journey. Understand life as an ongoing adventure. Embrace the idea that life is a continuous journey rather than a destination to be reached. Shift focus from external achievements to inner growth and self-discovery. Be okay with feeling uncomfortable. It's okay. You are growing and expanding, and you can still have immense amounts of peace. In fact, you'll have more peace in your life from the feeling of fulfillment of having followed your heart than you will ever get from the feeling of security from having a safe job. So when you're out there in the world looking for a better way to be that is about genuine fulfillment and your genuine unique journey, just know you're on the hero's journey. It's okay to be uncomfortable. Well, I hope this has been helpful for you. I want to encourage anyone who's making this leap into becoming their own boss. I believe that we need to embrace our gifts and our talents, and that when we do, which takes a lot of courage because it often means we got to jump out of the system, we have to go against everything we've been taught in school. But when we do, we find that we feel immense fulfillment and it's easier. Yes, I just spent the last 10 or so minutes talking about being uncomfortable, but you will have so much more flow in your life when you go towards what you are naturally attracted to, what you naturally are delighted by and excited by. You will find that the universe gently holds you and helps you towards this in greater and greater levels of grace in your life. So I would encourage you to just do it and be okay with being uncomfortable. Okay, I hope this has been inspiring for you. See ya.